And I'll call this meeting to order. This is the Board of Selectmen meeting of Tuesday, September 11th at 7 p.m. And I'll begin, as we usually do, with any public input on a matter that is not on our agenda. Is there anything? Okay, thank you. Chairman's comments, only one thing, it's a sad thing. I want to remark on the passing of Stow citizen Jim Gray, a fine gentleman who was a member of Concerned Citizens with Stow, a group that helped us all with their opinions, and Jim in particular let his opinions be known at school committee meetings, selectmen meetings, building committee meetings. He was an involved citizen, a real role model for anyone who wants to participate in town government. Gave of his time and his interest, and I would like to ask that we all participate in a moment of silence. And thank you. We're trying to have a brief meeting tonight because the planning board is holding its marijuana forum at 8:15. I don't think we'll have too much of a problem making that. Maureen did send us a draft of minutes from our last meeting of August 28th. I have not had the opportunity to take a look at them, so I'm relying on my colleagues. Any comments?
Chairman, I would just, for discussion, move to accept the minutes of August 28th meeting as amended.
Second.
They were amended in the sense that Mr. Burke beat me to the punch on, he was trying to steal my thunder, as usual, on the liaison reports. That on page 2, I was the one that brought up the.
So can you just summarize what the change is?
That's it. It was changed to Mr. Hawks.
Oh, Mr. Hawks brought up the item about the school committee.
And there was a spelling error on the library report.
Okay, and Mr. Hawks, you have some edits handwritten that you can
She
give
has
to
those.
And Maureen has.
She has those.
Okay. In addition, anything in addition, any comments in addition to those?
Only that the only thing I mentioned on the liaison reports, because the chair had asked us to be brief, was that I had attended the Council on Aging luncheon for volunteers.
We recall that. It's a big event.
That has been
Appreciate that.
noted over there.
Yes. So, anything else?
Brief.
And seeing none, motion's been made and seconded to accept the minutes of August 28, 2018 as amended. Any further comment? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And that is unanimous.
No. She
Oh,
probably abstained.
is there an abstention?
Well, I didn't know whether you were going to vote or not, so I voted even though I wasn't here.
That's
In
fine.
deference
That's fine.
to the.
Yeah, and that's fine. So that was
Okay.
unanimous. That was unanimous.
Because I'm sure our colleague on the far right there of the table reviewed the Stow UT.
Actually, I did not this time.
Trying to throw you some cover.
So, next item, did everybody have a chance to review the correspondence? Is there anything correspondence that anybody wants on a future agenda?
I'll review it and let you know, 'cause
Okay.
I haven't reviewed it.
Good. But I didn't see anything, but if anybody else does. And that brings us to the highlight of the evening, which is our discussion of the permit for the 2018 Stow Gobbler race. Approach and introduce yourself again.
Come on,
Sure.
For
grab a seat up
Come on
here.
up there.
the record.
Sit right here.
Please do.
All right. Thank you.
It's your table.
All right, so I'm Michael Sabourin. My wife Ann has been doing all the organizing and doing all the paperwork and all that. So I'm standing in because she's working, and this is, why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm Joey Sabourin.
Hi, Joey.
Nice to meet you.
So, we've been through this before. It's a great event. I don't know that you need to hit any details unless you'd like to, but why don't you just tell us, it's huge now, right? It's like, how many runners is it?
Well, for the television audience, you might want to explain what the subject is.
The Stow Gobbler 5K, but Joey, why don't you take it from there?
Good evening. My name is Joey Sabourin. I'm one of the organizers for the Thanksgiving Gobbler race. Thank you for your time tonight and for supporting the race for the last 11 years. Last year's Gobbler raised about $20,000. The Habitat for Humanity and the Stow Community Chest were the main benefactors of the money raised. The race will be held November 22nd, Thanksgiving morning. 2018 is the 12th anniversary of the Gobbler. I am before you tonight asking for a permit for this year's race. We are a fully insured USATF sanctioned event. The event starts at the Snow Community Park in Stow and finishes at the Bose facility in Stow. The majority of the race is on the streets of Stow. There's a tiny section of the course that crosses Route 117 in Bolton, adjacent to the ET&L Construction Company, before reconnecting with the streets of Stow. We have connected with the police departments of both Bolton and Stow for the police detail support. We have a safety plan that has been approved by the Stow EMTs and fire department. The race has run very smoothly over the last 11 years. Our goal is to ensure this remains a great community event, and we hope that we have your continued support. Thank you again for your time.
All right, very good. And the selectmen have in front of them a map of the route. Do my colleagues have any questions?
It's the same route you've always done?
Yeah.
And the town of Stow is a named insured?
What's that?
Named insured on the certificate?
Would have to ask. Yeah, I'm working that out with Laura. I'm actually gonna help get that updated. Their insurance certificate doesn't expire until October 1st, because I couldn't get another one yet. But we're gonna make sure.
So that will be handled.
Yep.
Yeah.
Other than that, thanks very much for helping organize this again, and thanks for coming here tonight.
All right.
Great event.
Thank you very much.
Do you happen to know off the top of your head how many runners are in it? I mean, my memory is like 800 to 1,000 or something like that.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
No.
It's a,
Yeah, we can find out. It's been getting
no,
better.
that's okay. I'm just, for the people watching at home, I mean, this has become a big event,
It is.
and it's
Yeah.
12 or 13, 12 years. 12 years?
11.
This is
11.
11.
the 11th.
Yeah, it's
Yep. Yeah, it's a good family event and a lot of runners.
Yeah.
I'll be sleeping, but I heard it's fun.
Are the same, Mr. Chairman, are the is the money going to the same two organizations this year, or has that been decided?
I believe so, the Habitat for Humanity and the Stow Community
Good.
Trust.
Yep. Fine, so that couldn't be more worthy
I believe so, yeah.
for local organizations, so I want to echo my colleagues in thanking you guys for keeping the tradition going.
Oh, great.
So, hopefully, many years from now, when all different cast of characters here and there, it'll still be ongoing,
That's right.
getting bigger each year. Thank you.
And you've run this by the police. You have their safety plan?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I have that
Other stuff.
with me. Yep,
I mean, as far as I know, this has always gone off without a hitch for
that's right.
11 years, so.
Yeah, Anne's been working with everybody and she has other people on the committee and they're getting help from people that have run it in the past.
Yeah.
So,
Brian, do you have something to say?
I move to approve the use of the town public ways for the annual Stow Gobbler 5K road race on Thanksgiving Day, November 22, 2018.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the use of town public ways for the Stow Gobbler Road Race on Thanksgiving Day, November 22nd. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And that is unanimous.
Excellent.
Thank you, nice
Okay.
job.
Thank you for your time,
Thanks for
everybody.
coming.
Good luck.
Nice seeing you.
Thank you.
If our
Thank you.
colleague, Mr. Ryan, here, he would want it noted, he will be there volunteering.
Oh, great.
He always does. So,
I'll be at my in-laws
Yeah. All
in
right.
Pennsylvania.
Oh, nice. All right. We'll see.
Thank
see
you.
very soon. Thank you.
And our next item is an appointment to the Town Hall Restoration Committee. Mr. Epstein, I think that's why you're here.
Correct.
You applied for this position?
I have.
So, Doug, do you want to summarize for viewers what the Town Hall Restoration Committee is and what it does?
Surely.
And would you like to explain to the viewers who don't know our,
Doug Hyde, Assistant Building Inspector.
thank you.
The Town Hall Restoration Committee formed 6 months ago with the passage of the town meeting warrant article, I believe Article 42 at the annual town meeting, appropriating funds from the Community Preservation Committee to undertake a study of what would be involved in repairing, replacing, rebuilding Old Stow Town Hall. And we have narrowed the field of applicants from 12 to 3. We will be starting oral interviews Thursday, the 27th of September at 6:15 in the evening. And Arnie has been appointed, Arnie has volunteered to be the member at large from the Greater Stow community. And our committee, the Town Hall Restoration Committee, voted to request that you appoint Arnie to our committee.
When and if Mr. Epstein is appointed, will you be at your full 7 members?
We are sure hoping. Capital Planning doesn't meet regularly, and their member has not been appointed to the Capital Planning Committee by the moderators, so there's a hiccup, but they're supposed to be meeting this week.
That is actually, I've already sworn them in, already
Yes.
been sworn in, and they meet next week.
Yes, they meet.
So we will have our full complement.
Yep.
They meet on the 18th, and then, yeah, so you'll be up. Good. Mr. Epstein, anything you want to say in your defense before we pass down to
Well, I'm looking forward to serving on this committee if appointed, and I think it's certainly an important landmark for the town. Long-term resident of Stow. One of the things I'll be specifically interested in is energy efficiency for the town hall. You're probably aware that the town hall is currently our least energy efficient building, municipal building in the town.
Not surprising.
We call it the Stow Energy Gobbler.
In keeping with the evening agenda.
Thank you, Ms.
Count on that one.
Thank you for stepping forward, as always, Arnie. Any further discussion? Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, on the recommendation of the Town Hall Restoration Committee, I move to appoint Arnold Epstein as member at large to serve the remainder of a 3-year term expiring June 30, 2021.
Second.
Thank you. Motion made and seconded on the recommendation of the Town Hall Restoration Committee to appoint Arnold Epstein as the member at large to serve the remainder of the 3-year term expiring on June 30th, 2021. Any further discussion?
Thanks for stepping forward again, Arnie.
Forward to it.
And all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And that's unanimous. Arnie, thank you.
Thank you.
Yet again, thank you.
Yeah.
Happy holidays.
Glad that we're taking up so much of your free time.
Boy, he's out of country most of the time.
That's true. Imagine just getting some good vacations. That's true.
You become a Canadian citizen, I believe.
Next on our agenda is the town clerk requested an appointment to the Board of Registrars. I'm a little behind on this one. Linda Hathaway, the town clerk, do you want to fill us in on exactly what's going on here?
Sure. We're kind of asking for a rush on the appointment, even though it's been posted for quite a while now. And the most recent one was done in July, but it's been vacant for a number of, for over a year now. But we have a recount in the 3rd Congressional District on Saturday at 10 a.m. at the Pompasitic Community Center. And between Daniel Coe and Lori Trahan are the top vote getters, and so we will be recounting. And the registrars of voters are the ones that have to look at the ballots if any of the candidates contest one of the ballots, the registrars, and it would be nice to have a full contingent. So I appealed to the Republican Town Committee and the Democratic Town Committee, and I've been out beating the bushes, inquiring of people that want to, and we have a candidate that is willing to serve. Nancy Arsenal, Red Acre Road, she's a registered Democrat. So she's willing to step in and try this out, and I think our recount will go fine. I don't expect that they're gonna find any additional votes or any marked ballots.
Oh, I hope not.
Here
I'm
it's-
pretty sure in Stow that they're not going to. Our new tabulators, thanks to the town purchasing them, worked great. They are very sensitive and know when there were ambiguous marks, and the ballot would kick out. Voters would have an opportunity to either to spoil that ballot if they wanted to, or go back and make sure the ovals were filled in, because some were making lines to the ovals or check marks or X's, and the machine's going, I can't read that well enough. Ambiguous mark. So it kicked it back and said, fill it in. Go ahead.
Mr.
How
Marks.
how often did that happen usually?
During that day, it was actually more than
Roughly,
a dozen maybe. A dozen in that instance.
yeah.
And it might have happened a little bit in the past, but it seemed like it's just even having so much as putting your pen down on a oval and leaving a dot and then filling in another oval, it would read it as being an overvote.
Really?
And it would kick it back. We would spoil the ballot, they'd get another ballot, they could mark it. So it was very clear who they were voting for. There were 1,226 ballots in the Democratic race.
How
that
close,
was gonna be
how close were, I didn't look at the results.
on the night
How
of the
close-
election, it was 52. It's now up to 123 out of 37 towns.
Well,
And we're
in-
doing district-wide.
In Stow, do you know how close Trahan and Carter
Yeah, it's on the website.
Okay, she was- sorry,
It's- She was second. Chandler
Was first.
first, then Lori, and then Daniel. I want to say it was like 163, 143.
Oh, wow, okay.
163 or something. It was fairly close, but I'm not pretty sure that you might find one.
So can I just ask, the Board of Registrars, the
Yep,
4 members is full and you have 3.
I have 3. Right.
And what are the requirements? Because you have a Republican, you have a Democrat, you have an unenrolled.
Right. The
And now you
clerk is automatic, and it does not matter which party. The others can be, have to be Republican or Democrat, and it's whatever.
Whoever
you
steps
could
forward?
Step forward, so you could have 2 Democrats one time and 1 Republican, or vice versa.
Oh,
So some years I could have 2 Republicans and 1 Democrat, but it's been in the years and years ago, when probably my grandfather was clerk, the registrars would have been, you had to have been in a party. I think that was probably before we had unenrolled, but now they allow the clerk to be unenrolled.
huh, okay. Mr. Burke,
I'm glad that upon your recommendation, the town invested in those new voting machines.
I do love them. They're a little slower, but they are a good peace of mind. And
But you do great work on elections, and I'm
Thank you.
glad they're helping you. And
thank you.
I am sorry that you're going to have to work on Saturday,
I know.
but blame the Democrats.
Well, this is the 3rd recount that I've done. The first state, national, U.S. Congress one. We've done local recounts. In my experience and in many of the clerks' experience, we see that you might see numbers within the races change a little bit, but the outcome is typically the same. We had no provisional ballots. We did all our absentees. The vote to me is what it is. I've certified the vote to the Secretary's office already. I'm really confident that it's going to stand for Stow, and they're not going to find anything. Other towns that had more provisional ballots, that's where a voter comes in, their name's not on the list. You give them a provisional ballot, they vote it, they put it in an envelope, and then after, either during the day or after the election, the clerk's office are doing more research to find out if they were really supposed to vote there or not.
and if they were, you
If they were, we cast their ballot,
Right.
we'd do it at a registrar's meeting, and we would cast their ballot. If not, it's just not. I mean, and it could be that they never registered to vote, they're still registered in the last town where they lived. They were registered we had several people that wanted to vote the Democratic ballot but were registered Republican or Libertarian, and they couldn't. Right, well, there's 10 choices. There was only one choice on the Republican in that race. So those were the occasions that a provisional ballot would usually occur. That did not occur with us. We had a
Okay.
couple of people show up, but
Is that why the number jumped from 53
I think
to
so.
provisionals and
I
other
think so.
locales?
I can't.
Most likely.
Most
Yeah.
likely.
Okay.
Most likely that was what it was.
Motion?
Well, thank you, and
Yes.
thank Nancy.
Boyd?
Ingeborg.
So how do you recount? What is the process of recounting?
So we're going to be taking everything. Some of this at the congressional level is even new to me. So we're taking all the ballots go, all the hand counted ballots, all the envelopes that the absentees came in, the list that we used, the checklist. Everything's going to go up to Pompo. And then what will happen is the ballots for the Democratic race are taken out of the precinct boxes. I have them in box sorted by precincts because we separated them they're separated by precincts, and they're separated in the same box by party. And then we'll take them and we'll put them in packets of 50. They will sort them into 50 block and put them in an envelope and label it, and then they will go to a table, an accounting table, and someone will take the ballot, read it, and another person will tally on a tally sheet. And we'll go through that, the whole,
So it's manually done?
manually done. This was a manual hand count. And then from that, that somebody will run it to the master tabulator, and that person will tally it all up. And what's interesting is, so both of the campaigns have been notified. We had to give them 3 days' notice. All the candidates, the two that are being contested were notified, along with all the other candidates in that race. They each can have one person per election worker there. So that's why we moved to Pompo. Because we could have 20 or 30 visitors there standing over our shoulders looking and trying to, and they challenge. And they could challenge, as I'm reading and Dawn's marking, somebody could say, oh, that's not, one of the observers could say, no, I challenge that. Then that ballot is taken to the Board of Registrars. The Board of Registrars will determine who that vote should count for, send their, yes, we say that goes for Trahan, and then it goes back and it's tallied and and it's continued on.
So an observer for Lenny Golder could challenge.
They could. I mean,
Or-
it's typically not going to be it's only going to be the ones that are directly affected.
But they could. I mean, just as a theory.
Technically, in theory, they
Yeah.
could.
Interesting. Thank you.
They could. I don't expect them to. Jeffrey Bellinger has already said he's not participating. I expect some of the others are going to say they're not participating. But I do expect that there will be at least one legal counsel for each campaign and enough voter, to stand there and to be there.
And this is a mandatory recount now. at this
Yes,
point,
now,
right?
right, because the secretary ordered it. Daniel Coe requested it, and because it was less than half of 1%, the secretary ordered it, and we have impounded the ballots. The ballots immediately, for us anyway, have always gone into the vote after an election. The police officer takes them from the school and puts them right into the vault. We put them in his vehicle, and he transports the ballots, all the counted ballots and the unused ballots, and we put them right in the vault, and that's where they've been sitting until we go out on Saturday morning. I'll take them out. But I've taken all the voter lists, and I've entered all that history into the database, the secretary's database, and the numbers match. Yay! I got the same number of check-in, the same number of ballots.
That's key.
Yeah, sometimes, it's off because somebody forgets to check something, but, it's all.
Okay, I'm ready for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, on the recommendation of the town clerk, I move to appoint Nancy Arsenault as a registrar of voters to serve the remainder of a 3-year term expiring June 30, 2021.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to appoint Nancy Arsenault as a registrar of voters to serve the remainder of a 3-year term expiring June 30th, 2021. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing, yes.
I was just gonna say that the chairman of the Democratic Town Committee did agree with that choice as well. So,
Okay.
that their blessing.
Any further discussion?
Just
Seeing and hearing
thanks.
none?
Thanks to Nancy for stepping up.
Yes.
Yes.
Glad to see it.
Yes.
She's doing that.
Yes.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Sure you didn't want to
And
abstain on that.
opposed, nay. Abstentions, and that's unanimous.
Thank you.
Have fun on
We can
Saturday.
minimize the
Yes.
sidebars. Thank you.
It's, I'm very confident in our workers. I'm very pleased with those that are stepping up. I'm still recruiting, still, for a few people, so, but we'll be in place and ready to go. Anybody wants to come? It's open to the public,
Coffee and donuts?
only if you bring them. Yeah, right. I'll supply them for my workers, but not for the crowd.
Not for the rabble rousers.
Yeah, the peanut gallery.
Peanut gallery.
All right.
Thank you,
Anything else?
Nancy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
So I can't help but notice that somehow the town administrator's report got left off the agenda.
Shucks. And I even had one, but
I'm
we
gonna,
play by the rules here.
Oh.
I'd be willing to risk it, since you're here. We won't call it the town administrator's report. You got anything you want to tell us?
Sure. Make a few comments, just stretch this out a little bit.
We'll call this your liaison report.
Oh, okay.
Who you been liaising with? I haven't here.
So in response to some of the heightened attention that's come of recent weeks with regard to personal property tax assessments, specifically related to utility companies, what I've done is I've asked our principal assessor to attempt to bring some clarity as to A, the statutory requirements and how you identify and define the terms with regard to, and the process, both. And I'll have some, we had discussed, again, with an attempt to lend credibility to this, because it's a rather, the process itself and the identifying terms with respect to personal property, not all that clear unless you've been experienced at it. So we discussed the fact that we have a commercial appraiser that we pay that specializes, and so she's going to discuss her thoughts with the specialist, and also to the degree that it's helpful with DOR, because this process basically is one where utility companies submit, pursuant to the statute, what they believe to be the estimated tax value. It gets reviewed locally and by DOR. It can be challenged. We've not done it as long as I've been here, and we've done it for 2 other utilities. But in any event, we'll have something for you for your own edification, or to the degree that others, if the topic persists, give you the results of that due diligence process. Again, may or may not.
Mr. Chair, may I inquire?
Yes.
And the purpose of that is, of going to those lengths is for what?
I'll start with myself. I'd like to know.
Okay.
Second
That's
of
all I have
all,
to
the
say.
fact that the board's been approached publicly, written statements have been submitted with regard to that matter. I just thought it'd be helpful.
Yeah,
I mean, this way, instead of continuing, speak for myself again, I hate speaking from ignorance, and at the same time, unless there's something to bring some clarity when the questions are asked, I just think constituents have a right to have some thoughtful knowledge on it, so that's why I'm doing it. It's an academic exercise, if nothing else, I guess is what it is. And thought maybe the board would be interested, so I don't know.
Well, I suppose it does have it does satiate a certain intellectual curiosity, but it doesn't sound from anything I've heard that it's going to cause this board to take a different approach.
And I don't think I mentioned any of that this evening.
No, you haven't.
Yeah, that's not my point, yeah.
But if you want to know, that's fine. I just didn't want to.
Don't feel required to review whatever we provide you. We do this as a matter of course in my tenure here, and it's up to you guys whether it's something you find of interest or not, or somebody else. The Finance Committee has been, I think, approached on the same matter. So I just thought there seems to be a growing interest in it, and I myself am not quite clear on these matters.
I think it's interesting from 2 perspectives. Bill shared this with me before. Number one, the principal assessor has been pretty clear that she doesn't agree with the numbers that we've seen, but that leaves the question, that she thinks are too high, but that leaves the question of, well, what's the right number? And there's also this interesting question, apart from the Eversource side of it, that the utilities, Eversource, anything else, they determine the book value, and you can challenge it and maybe even negotiate it, but you gotta know what you're talking about. And this seems like an interesting exercise to kind of put more meat on the bone of exactly what that means and how they go about doing that, and how we can maybe arrive at our own figure and determine if what they're using is reasonable in other contexts.
I'm a firm proponent of having knowledge, I mean, just
Yeah.
in general. So I'm generally inquisitive, it's part of what we do, and I've been doing it a long time, and I'm generally intrigued when something comes up and I say, geez, it's the first time in my 30-something years of doing these things, and I just didn't know. So it does no harm. It provides background to, obviously there are folks inquiring about this, and why not? But there's no determining factor right now, because until, in this case, a particular project had been complete, and you can quantify, basically it's the infrastructure alone. And so part of the uncertainty for some folks, looking at examples, is knowing what can be included to be assessed and what can't be included to be assessed. And so even that process alone, I think, is helpful. Anyway, it's not,
Okay.
just,
I just wanted to see if there's gonna be any practical change, but, knowledge is good.
freedom's good too, I believe. That's a lot of things that just come naturally to me. Another item, the Box Mill Road Bridge. I think in general, you have some understanding it's been around for some period of time, but you received, the reason I'm broaching the subject now is because you received as correspondence from Mass DOT, an inspection report. And not analogous to the Lake Boone Dam, but the regs are pretty much the same. They continue to issue inspection reports, and they give them to each community. And we've been engaged with Box Mill Road. Me, only tangentially, had a meeting with Mass DOT, Christ, could have been a year and a half ago now. But the Conservation Department, Planning Board, Highway, in part because of Carver Hill and the conservation restriction, and whether this bridge, if you call it a bridge, has any historical significance and such. There's been a lot of variables and factors that are tangentially related to replacing this bridge. But I just wanted to let you know that pretty much we're engaged, Mass DOT's engaged. There's some difference of opinion on whether the bridge is repairable, whether it should be repaired or not, whether to preserve it as is and create a second egress to this property, but just didn't want you to look at that inspection report and not know or think or be concerned that the town is involved in it.
I have a question. So is that bridge owned by the town, or is that a privately owned bridge? Do you know?
I don't know. It's really effectively only an access to Carver Hill for the most part, you know?
Yeah.
Elizabeth Brook. So I don't know. I haven't been involved enough. I'm sure others who have been more involved would know or not, but
I have the impression it's publicly owned.
Is that a private right of way going up to Carver?
yeah. In the end, it's like the Lake Boone Dam, so I presume the thought is it's private. They made clear that we'll be responsible for,
Who's that?
doesn't mean Mass DOT doesn't help in these matters, but I can't tell you in this case. In Lake Boone Dam, they're basically presuming we're the owner. We'll pay for whatever needs to be done there. I also wanted to make you aware of, and I don't know to what degree you might be aware of it or not, but general public knowledge that the mosquitoes testing program that we're part of, and each county has it, and we're in the Central Mass Mosquito Control Partnership. The West Nile virus has been detected in, some isolated cases but in this area and other areas. So there's been a continuation of the spraying program beyond is the conclusion that's typically late August. So they're extending the spraying in the areas, and you can go on the Stow Board of Health website, and it'll show a map that includes some sections of Stow. So I just wanted to let you know that in the event anybody approached you, because I've been approached, and some people expressing concern, as they would.
Can individual property owners apply to have their lands sprayed?
There's flexibility. I don't know to what degree. The program itself has locations that it does spray on. You can exclude your property, I know that, which would mean you probably could include it, but if the sprayers didn't assess that there was cause to, in other words, if the conditions weren't such that it would breed mosquitoes, I don't know that you can.
During the normal season, you can. I know my neighbor down at the lake had somebody come down and they did something. It is available that way. Whether this is extraordinary circumstances beyond that, whether that would apply or not, I don't know.
I think in general, if the conditions are such that they might lend themselves to this kind of breeding, then they would do it. The last piece is that this time of year, as you know, an extensive effort ensues in Stow between our public safety folks and our orchard growers, and coincidentally gets melded in for that October weekend, long weekend, is the event that's held down at the Collings Foundation. Just wanted to let you know that the traffic safety management plan that we have has been already put in place. It involves more than one orchard and more people, but our public safety folks have pretty much got this under control. One thing that isn't here, but I'm aware of, so I'll mention to you, but I think as of today or yesterday, Kate Hogan's office sent out the invitation. So on the 20th of September, which is next Wednesday, is it Wednesday?
Thursday.
That's what I said, Thursday. Down at Emma's Cafe, Kate is, through her office, is having representatives from Mass DOT. This is with respect to where are we with the Gleasondale replacement project. Have Mass DOT engineers out here, probably have a couple our own public safety folks. I know the invite has gone to a number of, to this board and to the constituents who want to, and it'll just be a little gathering at Emma's Cafe.
Mr. Burke.
Yes, have we notified that abutters group?
Yes,
Thank you.
hopefully they'll get it around. I think they moved it to Pompo though, in the last.
Yeah, I think it was the notice at Pompo.
And I'd go to Pompo.
Yeah.
Not Wednesday at Emma. Thursday at Pompo.
What do you know? That's a high standard to hold me to. I'm just.
Knowledge is good.
That's right. That's right. I should learn a little more of that. But that was it had moving parts to it. But
Yeah.
no
So,
excuse.
I thought I saw something that said we have to let them know if we're gonna go.
I think there's an RSVP.
Yes, it was.
Could-
I can do that for you.
Could Maureen RSVP for any selectmen who right now know they wanna go? I
Do
wanna
you know what
go.
time it is? I didn't.
8 to 9.
8 a.m. tonight.
8 in the morning.
8 in the morning.
Oh,
Have to
I
get-
can do that.
Yeah.
Have to get up before breakfast.
Oh, I'm up before that anyway, don't you worry. Oh, I thought it was at night, which
Yeah.
my nights are always jammed, so that sounds great. I don't know. Does
I
anyone-
already responded, I'm gonna be away.
Okay, Mr. Burke?
If I'm up, I'll try to get over there. I got a council on aging meeting and then an hour after that.
If you're up.
All right, so Mr. Burke might be there in his jammies, but the rest of us, I'd like to go, and Ingeborg, if you could let
Just do
her
that.
know.
I've sent back one for myself.
Hopefully, there will be some information you might bring back to us.
Yes, let's just double check, because we've been all over the place. It is September 20th.
What you mean to say is I've been all over the place.
No, it's we. It's September 20th, 8 to 9 a.m., Pompous Syndicate, room
I
122.
may not be able to go.
There be
Well,
I
refreshments?
have a meeting in Boston, so
Okay.
cancel, I'm
I
sorry.
might make it if they're gonna be refreshments.
Why don't you
I
go to
would think-
Emma's instead? You go to Emma's and wait for
You
us.
bring down the bear claws.
I think generally Kate's office does it.
Yeah.
Usually, yes.
And that's it for my
Okay.
No, my liaison report.
Liaison report. So, thank you. Since Mr. Ridley has given his liaison report, I think I see no reason why he can't be excused.
Unless you want to
Further
come
participation?
listen to where we're going to be in the next half hour.
You know, I thought long and hard about that today. It was a close call, but I thought, with all of you attending,
Coin flip.
that'd be more than enough, I think.
We'll cover it for you.
Great. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Have a
Good
seat,
night.
Tim.
Might as well start with Mr. Burke, or continue with Mr. Burke.
Continue.
Well, that was the first liaison report.
I see. Then, I just only attended one liaison quality reporting meeting, and that was LACAC. We lost a member, and they're going to post for a new member shortly, and
Who'd we lose?
Jeff Cronenberg, I'm trying to remember his last name, Jeff Cronenberg, he moved to Maynard.
Oh,
And he was a nice guy,
Yeah.
very knowledgeable.
I think I
But we're going to have, we've already had somebody in to express interest. I pointed out that we need to have a notice of vacancy posted first, and hopefully the committee will live to full complement. But that's about it in the last 2-3 weeks.
Okay. Mr. Hawks?
Lakewood Commission has not met recently, but under our procedures, we have a member each year designated to be the contact person with Highway to request the removal of a board from the dam, start the lowering process, which we have done every year, consistent with the orders of conditions of the Conservation Commission, to reach a lowered level of maximum of 18 inches for the winter, to minimize storm damage along the shore, and also to allow homeowners to do some property improvement work, cleanup, etc. And that process, according to the order of conditions, is to begin on or about October 1. So I'm going to be away, but I don't need authorization. It's been pre-authorized that somebody has to do it. It's primarily ministerial in nature. So I will be in touch with Mr. Clayton and ask him to start that process on October 1. Take this opportunity to get the notice out to people that might be watching from around Lake Boone. It happens every year, but every year some people get surprised by it.
Right.
And we will ask the Lake Boone Association, which maintains a pretty active listserv reaching a lot of lake residents, to get that word out via that medium as well. That's it.
CPC met last night. I didn't go, but I spoke to the chair. They got, the main thing was they got the same presentation from Melissa at the library that we got at our last meeting, and they got a tour. They walked over for a tour of the library's second floor. I have a library trustees meeting tomorrow night, capital planning and lower village subcommittee next week. I do want to mention to the board, with regard to the library trustees, it's not really an issue yet, but it's something I want everybody just to know about. So, as the restoration work on the second floor is winding down, one of the things that needs to happen before we can use it again is all those historical artifacts that the Stow Historical Society has have to come back and be put back into the cases, those glass cases, in the Whitney room, the library Whitney room. And there is a pushing and pulling going on between the library trustees and the Stow Historical Society about when that will occur, how quickly it will occur, will it occur in a way that will not interfere with the library programs, blah, blah, blah. These two entities have not always seen eye to eye on this issue. The town administrator and I have offered to kind of facilitate a meeting between the two of them. At least I've communicated that to the library trustees. They haven't taken us up on it yet. Just so everybody's aware that that's going there. I think the last thing, I hope you would all agree with me, the last thing we want is some unnecessary spat between the library trustees and the Stowe Historical Society about the historical artifacts. But I'm sure we can get everybody in a room, we can all work it out. Thank you, Board.
God bless.
The SMOT meeting is tomorrow night in this room, and that's my report. I'll be attending.
Just before we adjourn, Mr. Chairman, just for the benefit of my colleagues, I've already informed Maureen, I will not be at the next meeting on the 25th.
You will be missed.
Will you be at the special town meeting, Mr.
I will
Hawes?
be back the day before that, I'll be coming back.
So just by way of talking about upcoming agendas, I think needless to say, at our next meeting in September, we'll be talking about whether to make recommendations on the warrant articles for the October 1st special town meeting, and if so, what those recommendations are. So please take a look at the warrant, give that some thought. Tonight's public forum, which I think most of us, I think Mr. Burke said he can't go, but I think the other three of us are going. I don't plan on speaking on behalf of the board, because I don't think the board has taken any position, so I don't think we have anything to say. Obviously, if any selectman wishes to talk, feel free. If you're expressing an individual opinion, just make that clear.
I might, this is for clarification of my own memory. I think we did vote to.
We did. Vote to support Article
urge
1.
people to vote in favor of the zoning changes.
Right, we did.
So perhaps that might be inappropriate, since we did have a vote on that,
You're right.
that you might report on.
I will do that. I have heard that some folks in Gleasondale sent a letter. I haven't seen it.
It's in the package, it's in there.
Package. And it also came by email.
Yep.
You sent it. The concern was simply that there should also be consideration of a buffer zone to residential.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to use the next half hour to find out, because I was looking for it. How did I miss it?
I think it's in there.
Yes, I emailed it, I wasn't sure if it was in this one.
Oh, okay, maybe I just remember seeing the
There was
email.
another
It's very
resident in
short.
that one, though.
Oh, there's,
Maybe
a different one.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
from,
okay.
that's down near the lake.
Well, we can do that off.
This is the buffer zone to residential
Thank you.
zones. That's that
I
one.
want to take a look at that before the...
So you will,
And here's another one.
I'll say that I will report that we recommend approval of Article 1.
yes.
Yeah, I think the planning board did a lot of work on that.
They did a lot of work. We, I guess this comes under Liaison. We had a fairly lengthy discussion with them a couple of meetings ago about some of their strategy. There were some things we challenged or asked about in terms of the wording. There was some repetition that I think Mr. Ryan in particular pointed out. They took care of that. We did ask them why not put at the end of the warrant an extension of the moratorium, just in case the zoning article doesn't pass. And they wanted to make a strategic decision not to do that. They think everyone has enough information to make up their minds at this point. That was the one thing that I really remember. But they have done a lot of work on that. It's pretty thorough. And
I like their intro language.
that,
Well
they,
done.
they worked on a lot. I mean, we saw different drafts of that, and actually, I really agree with you. I thought what they wound up with was very clear.
Mhm.
For something that's tremendously complicated,
Mhm.
it was pretty clear.
Mhm.
So, all right,
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
motion made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Yes, okay, so